You want your 30-minute classics? Not me. Big meaty man slapping meat.
Kicking off the heat, yeah, it's time to go. Slapping me, wrestling, stealing the show. Tuesdays, Fridays, we bring it on air. Step into the ring if you're ready to care. Oh, let's talk power, let's talk speed. Hosted by the one and only We Too Deep. Turn it up loud, feel the power in your seat. This is slapping me, yeah, slapping me.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy We Too Deep, and we are back with another episode of the Slapping Meat Community Show. And we're going a little impromptu right here. I don't know what's going to say. We're bringing back the rants, though. We're going full wrestling. If you're here for the football talk on this episode, it's not here. This is strictly wrestling. No questions, none of that. This is, I don't know how long it's going to be. This is completely impromptu. Decided to do this about 2 minutes before I click record. And in those 2 minutes before I thought about it and I click record, those 2 minutes were spent thinking, do I really want to do this? And obviously we're getting an episode because I said, yes, I really want to do this. So here's what we're talking about, though. I have a topic, and there's a situation that set this up. And you can see all of that in the Discord page. It's part of the reason why you do have to join the Discord. If you listen to this podcast, join the Discord. A lot of the conversation happens there. And a lot of the conversation, we try to keep a chill vibe. It's free speech. You could say whatever you want, but we try to keep it chill. Right? What free speech doesn't say, though, is that you can spam every single day, constant critiques of things that ruin the environment, right? So I'm all for free speech, but once you start to change the environment, here's the thing. I have a short or a long fuse. I have a long fuse when it comes to being annoyed. You really, really have to get on my bad side to make me annoyed and to make me to where I've even thought about on Discord putting you in timeout or banning, kicking, all of those things. Like, I really have a long fuse. I think anyone should be able to say whatever they want, but there comes a time where you constantly say the same thing and it just like, bro, shut up, right? And so this comes to this argument, right? Go check out the discussion in the Discord. Go there. You can check out the conversation. But it did bring up a topic that I do want to talk about, and I couldn't wait till Tuesday because by that point I'm overthinking the topic. And I overanalyze it, and you don't get the raw thoughts that I have it right now, right? And it's on this idea of WWE. So let me set this up, actually. Let me set this up for the listeners who may not be in the Discord. So let's go all the way back to when I started this Discord. What was the purpose of starting what is now known as the Real Wrestling Community? Well, the Real Wrestling Community started out simply as just a Slapping Meat Wrestling podcast Discord server. It was my server for my podcast. And what happened was, before I made it, I was allowed to post in what is now the Casual Wrestling Community that I'm no longer a part of, but a lot of my listeners are. It is what it is, right? I was asked to stop promoting on that server and to create my own. To which I said, you know what? It's your server. I'll happily oblige to that. And so I did. And I created my own Discord. At some point in that, I then allowed, and I went to Cody and my brother, Cody being a friend, James being my brother, and said, hey, I have my own Discord. You guys are looking to build a community with your podcast. I don't mind if you guys sort of have a separate little category for your podcast that you could promote, as long as you promote the Discord and try to get people to join. Like, I just don't want you freeloading here, right? But here's what that comes with, though, right? An understanding that it's not your server. You can promote, but it's not your server, right? And so I was fine with that. And I didn't expect a lot of growth to come out of it. I wasn't really seeing a lot on myself with my own channel. I have my core listeners, and I love y'all to death. Like you guys are great. But I didn't really expect to see much growth, to the point to where I really stopped caring about promoting the Discord itself. Anyway, the point of the matter is, it's my server, right? And so I bring that up because in the server, James and Cody can promote there, and I don't know if he's bored, if he's bored, or if he's trying to create conversation. He's just trying to get attention. I don't know what it is, but he posts things on purpose and it's one of these dishonest things that, I told you guys earlier this year, my 3 R's, right? Being real, being raw, being relevant. It's one of these things that social media people do that get on my nerves, where they post content that's 100% clickbait. Like, there's a reason why I don't promote my podcast on social media. I'm not good at it. There's an art to it, and I don't want to try to lead, to post things solely for the clicks. It's one of the things that drives me absolutely insane. When I post something, I'm not posting for clicks. I'm posting because especially on social media, right? If you go through my Twitter, right? If you go through my Twitter and you, or X or Facebook or whatever, if you see my social medias, when I post something, I 100% mean what I'm posting. I don't try to post things, especially, to get monetized or to earn. That type of culture is toxic to me. Social media culture is toxic, and it does no good. And so James is very good at doing this, though, where he will make a post and he knows who his audience are and who will get behind it. Granted, can I just be honest? He doesn't get any interactions with his X post. So I don't know, but what he's trying to do is trying to create a situation that's that where he could potentially get a lot. And so he posted this thing, and what he does is he posts it, and then because no one in the Discord server follows him on X, what he does is he then screenshots his posts and he posts them in the server. And so he posts something. It says, imagine having to climb this ladder, and then the picture is the WWE developmental system. And it says, imagine having to climb this ladder just to get to the top and being told that a 50-year-old part-timer gets more TV time than you because he sells more T-shirts, right? Now, notice he posted that an hour ago. The only conversation he has is because he posted it in the Discord. It has 17 views. 18, actually, because I just viewed it. It has 18 views in just over an hour. No engagements, none of that, right? Right? Just nothing, right? So my point of this is, first off, we'll talk about the post here in a second, right? But he's this type of posting. The post is just stupid, right? And again, it goes to show, and I did a response to him, and I hate responding to him because he's allowed to have his opinion. But there's a difference between having an opinion that's informed but different than mine. You can have that. If you have an opinion that's different than mine because you fail to inform yourself, then I'm going to correct you. He doesn't understand as much as he claims he thinks he does, he doesn't understand two things. He doesn't understand that WWE is not wrestling. Oh, well, then change the name of the company, he would say. No. It's no different than if I were to create a television show around the sport of American football, and I called it let's say it's a TV show, it's completely scripted, blah, blah, blah. For example, the NFL. I'm just going to say it. Go back to the We Too Deep YouTube page. Check out one of my episodes where I talk about the NFL legally standing can rig their games because they are an entertainment business, not a sports league. But no one ever will charge the NFL to change the name and take football out of it. No, because what do? They provide entertainment through the avenue of football, in the same way that WWE provides entertainment through the avenue of professional wrestling. In that, it is an entertainment television show around a wrestling promotion, right? And that's what wrestling is, actually, right? So the first thing he doesn't understand, he doesn't understand that WWE's entertainment, and because he doesn't understand that, he judges it as if its entire purpose is wrestling. But I need you to understand that WWE, your job as a pro wrestler, whether you work at the lowest indie company or if you work in WWE at the height of the business, your job is to promote the show, make sure that people are in the seats, buying merchandise, buying concessions, and the least important part of your job as an employee of that company, whether it's contractual or whatever, the most important job that you have is to get people in the arenas. The least important job is what happens between the ropes. Because what happens between the ropes doesn't matter if there's no one there to watch it, or if they're not buying your merchandise, or if they're not buying concessions, or any of that. If you're not making money, what you're doing between the ropes doesn't matter. Your job, so for example, if I was a pro wrestler and WWE hired me and they said, we want to sign you to a contract, you're going to be in the Performance Center, you're going to be running the NXT, house shows, until we feel you're ready. You're going to be on Evolve, maybe. You'll be on LFG, maybe. Right? Okay. Your job, or excuse me, as the employee of WWE, the contracted individual superstar, my job description is what? To go out there and just wrestle? No, that's not my job. My job is Monday, if let's say my live shows that I'm on Saturdays, and Monday through Friday to promote the show, whether it's social media, whether it's through door-to-door marketing, whatever way WWE wants you to market it, to market the show, so that Monday through Friday I'm doing that, so that there's the maximum amount of people in the seats. If I'm on NXT, right, and I work my way up through the system through up to NXT, my job is to yes, wrestle, but also get very good at promos to get people to come back and watch, to sell merchandise, to sell concessions. That's the job of a pro wrestler. Your job isn't just to show up at the arena, go do a circus act, and then leave. No, your job is to make sure that people come back. And again, it's a television show. This is fundamental to understanding the business. It's fundamental. And what we're seeing, and this is part of the reason why, I think there are two things to notice about the AEW fan base. There's two things that you can notice about them. The first, none of them, and I can't say none because that would mean 100%, but 99.9%, a majority of AEW fans have zero idea how the entertainment business works. They just don't understand show business. They don't understand the industry that they're even participating in, the history of it, though they claim to know. They know the history of matches and storylines, but they don't recognize that the reason that wrestling is the way it is that promoters recognized early in the early 1920s that just putting two people in the ring in combat, sure, that'll sell some. But if you had characters and told stories and became an entertainment venue, now you can draw mass amount of money. And it's been this way since the 1920s. Nothing has really changed. The formula for pro wrestling is pretty easy. Create some characters, tell a couple stories, have the avenue this happens take place in the ring, and and the athletic competition becomes a plot device and not an actual competition. That's been the business since the 1920s. Nothing has changed in 100 years. Nothing has changed, but what AEW fans and what these indie fans want is a, and you can see it in the way that new fans come in, and they're sort of brainwashed by these IWC members to think that the product, while we understand it's scripted, that it's not a TV show, right? And so they come in and they complain when their favorites lose, and they act like it's real sports Like, I've never understood complaining about when a TV show does what a TV show is written to do. Just sit back and be entertained. That's kind of the point of entertainment, is not to overly critique. Now, I'm not saying don't critique, right? But to sit here and to, what has happened is the meme, it is still real to me, has gone from being like a meme to actually being the way that wrestling fans see the business, that they see it as an actual sport. And that is, I think, the result of in the early 2000s with the ROHs and can I just be honest, the TNAs. This idea on the indie circuit with some of these wrestlers, but more specifically the ROH style of wrestling, where they started acting as if the people in the ring were athletes and that what they were doing was sports competition. And it's not. It's not a sport. Pro wrestling is not a sport. Amateur wrestling, Olympic wrestling is a sport. Sure, I'll give you that. But pro wrestling isn't a sport. It's an entertainment form. It's an art form. It always has been. That's literally the foundation. That's literally the foundation of the industry. And so to sit here and to be like, oh, well, this is a sport. And when that started happening, the language started changing to where, right? And so now you enter into the scene like the sort of redheaded stepchild of this, the offspring of this kind of thinking, which is AEW, that wants to make you think that wins and losses matter and that it's a sport and that these are athletes and that, right? And they're trying to convince the audience that it's a real competition when everyone and their mother knows that it's not. And they are even putting on to the television things that would even break the illusion of it being real. Right? This is entertainment. Can we keep it entertainment? And this is what brings me then to this segment. Again, this is completely impromptu, so I don't even know how long this thing's going to be, right? But so I need you to understand. So let's go back. James doesn't understand how WWE is run and what their industry is. He also just doesn't understand wrestling, and I have explained that. But he doesn't understand WWE's developmental system. And I've shown you this time and time again. He doesn't understand the system he's critiquing. And let me just be honest, that's what a lot of the IWC does. They say a lot of shit, and they don't understand what's happening, right? The developmental system, and this was yesterday's debate. This was Thursday's debate, where Kylie Ray and Zeta Steel have posted that they were no longer their WWE ID contracts were not renewed, and he came out here trying to be smart, saying, "Well, I thought they weren't signed to contracts." You're right. I don't know. You might need to understand how contracts work. They're contracted independent workers. What does that mean? They're contracted to work for WWE, sure. No one ever said they weren't going to be contracted. But they didn't have but there's different types of contracts in WWE now. And if you watched LFG, you would have understood that. You have your developmental contract. You have your developmental contract is what allows you to go into the PC, train, develop. You'll work house shows, you'll work LFG, you'll work Evolve, right? Your NXT contract is what gets you on NXT. You're no longer in development, but you're in NXT, and then your main roster contract, right? And so he was like, "Oh, I thought they weren't contracted." Well, no one ever said they weren't contracted. We knew they were contracted because they were passing out contracts as they were signing wrestlers. All that I was saying was that from the way that I understood it and did in the research of how they explained it, that those who were signed WWE ID, they weren't exclusive to WWE. They could have worked the indies, and a lot of them still did work the indies. And that there would be that all WWE ID essentially was NIL, but directed towards independent wrestlers. That they would fund you, they would help you train, they would give you world-class training with some of the best training schools. Because we got to be honest, a lot of the indie schools out there, they train a lot of bad habits, and a lot of them suck. The cheaper schools suck. They don't train right. You have really bad, shady trainers who teach you bad things, right? And so WWE was like, "Hey, we're going to identify who we think are the top independent talent." And these AEW fans can, well, they're just trying to hoard talent from AEW. First off, it's kind of what companies do when they're going against each other, right? If I'm in business, I want to get the best employees so that my competitor doesn't have the best employees. That just kind of makes sense to me, right? But, oh, you're hoarding talent. No, right? Oh, well, how come they didn't renew? I thought, and he was trying to be smart, right? He was trying to be a smart ass. And I don't know, but he constantly does this, right? And so today's debate was on this. And outside of not understanding how it works, so sure, you have your developmental contract, but you could still work the indies. That's how ID works. Or he'll constantly critique the NIL program, not understanding what the NIL program is. And I've already broke this down, but we'll break it down again. When a college athlete signs with the NIL program, all that means is that WWE is going to allow them to use the Performance Center, and when they're done with college, they have the option to go try out after college to get a Performance Center contract. That's all it is. You have, by signing NIL, we're going to fund you, we're going to support you, you're going to do, marketing for us. You can have access to the PC to train, use the gym, whatever. And when you're done with college, you have the option to do a tryout for the chance to get a WWE contract. That's what the NIL program is. But he critiques it all. Well, how many success stories? Well, it's because 90% of the people didn't even take the tryout. Most of them didn't take the tryout because NIL is not a contract with WWE in terms of you work for the company. It's a promise that you have a free tryout waiting for you if you want it. But for those who did take the contract, the Obafimis, the Hank Ledgers, right, the only one that really hasn't succeeded, that is an official NIL athlete that went to the PC, was Gable Steveson. He was the only one that's failed from the program that actually took the contract. 90% of those who signed with NIL never took the contract and showed up, from the records that we know, right? And there's a lot of them in the I think they just did class number 5, but those in class 5, class 4, and class 3 are still in college. A lot of them are still in college and therefore can't be in the WWE, or they would lose their amateur status. Right? Like, I need you to understand these things before you start to critique them. The developmental system of the WWE is there to recognize the talent of the future, to build a pipeline. There's nothing wrong with this. Just because AEW doesn't do it doesn't mean that this way is wrong. I'm not even saying AEW's way is wrong. I'll join that side and say I think AEW should have a performance center, but all they are a glorified indie company, right? Now, they shouldn't be. They shouldn't treat themselves like the lower than talent, because what I'm about to say here about the indies, I mean, it's the truth, but it's going to hurt the wrestling fan who's an IWC member. You've brought me to the point. I've tried to watch my language on this show, right? I've really tried but you really got me to the point to where I really just got to say, fuck the indies, dude. And and you're gonna come back. Well, you're the guy that says support the indies. You did an interview with the indie wrestler. Let me go to that real quick. I kind of, for those who listened to the interview I did with the indie wrestler, nothing about her as a person has changed. I still respect her as a wrestler. But let me tell you something. That whole purpose of that interview, I'm just gonna go. I've been contemplating if I should say this or not, but so I'm just gonna say it. And we'll see what happens. But that whole interview was centered around, when I emailed her, I was like, hey, you just announced you're dropping your OnlyFans, and I want to be the first one to interview you about why you decided to do that. And we had that conversation, and it was a good conversation. And then, she goes on in there and talking about how she was being told things, and she was, some of the requests were sort of dehumanizing, and this, that, and the third. And I asked her, I'm pretty sure I asked her, like, I know you took a pay cut doing this. Would you go back to do it? And essentially the answer was like, no. That she's going to try to make it work. But she didn't make it work. She's back on OnlyFans promoting herself now, right? So I lost a little respect there. I'm just going to be completely honest, right? And that's what I've noticed about the indies, is that the indie culture is a little toxic, but wrestling is toxic. It comes with the business. But you're the one support the guys. I've come to the place right now in how I view wrestling, where because of the IWC and because of their toxicity. So first off, they say they care about the indies. They don't. They could not name you 99% of the independent scene. Right? Most of them couldn't. And I want them to stop acting like they care about it. You care about the promotions that AEW tells you to care about. That's all you care, right? Because you'll watch New Japan, you'll watch CMLL, you'll watch Rev Pro, and say, "Oh, I watch the indies." You'll go and support your local company, but you're not going to support every company, are you? Every single independent company that's out there. But first off, you act like they're not thriving. Independent wrestling's thriving right now. Let me tell you something. Fuck the indies, bro. 90% of independent wrestlers will never get past getting paid a hot dog and a handshake to do stupid shit. That's the point where I'm at right now. Like there's maybe a small percentage, like 5% of wrestlers currently on the indies that even have the potential to make it to the WWE or even to AEW. So I'll give AEW the credit. They're a glorified indie company. So they don't need a developmental system because the indies work to where anyone can go and wrestle for any independent company, right? WWE is a organization. It is a ecosystem in and of itself. You have to be trained in their style. And no one trains in the WWE style anymore, except for some of the major companies, and that's why they got WWE ID designation. Because they train in the style of WWE, which is entertainment before wrestling. Do the moves, sure. But you have to be entertaining. You have to play to the crowd. You have to be able to promo. You have to be able to tell a story outside of the ring so that when you get in the ring, the story of the match itself actually has a purpose. Right? Does that make sense? And AEW doesn't have that. As much as they try to do it, they don't have that. And the indies, let's be honest, I don't care about the indie scene anymore. I don't. And I'm at the point with wrestling where it's all garbage right now. Outside of NXT. I'm going to watch my NXT and I'm going to love my NXT and I'm going to support NXT. And I'm going to support AAA because I love AAA's work. And I'm going to support TNA because I like what TNA does. And hopefully they get a TV deal so I can actually watch your product. But because I can't afford TNA Plus. But those really, AAA, WWE's version of AAA, because here's how James was respond. Well, you didn't care about AAA before WWE bought it. Yeah, because I didn't know about it. It wasn't accessible to me. But now it's accessible to me. And I like Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. And I like Mr. Iguana. And I like Pagano. And I like some of the wrestlers down there. They weren't accessible to me. Now they're accessible to me to watch. And I like TNA. I wish it was more accessible. Guess what? Having TNA wrestlers on NXT TV makes it more accessible to me. Why don't I watch TNA on a weekly basis? Because it's not accessible to me because I can't afford TNA Plus. I just can't afford it. Oh, you're not a real wrestling fan because you're not going to stay up till 3 a.m. Guys, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. I don't care enough about whatever indie program in Denmark Mercedes Moné is running today where she's going to steal an 8th, 9th, 24th title. Who knows how many belts she carries with her that she never defends. But she's the greatest women's wrestler of all time, apparently, to the IWC, when she's not. Because you know how I determine greatness? When your time has passed, that you actually start putting the younger women behind you over. That's why I love Becky Lynch, right? Becky Lynch was not afraid to lose on Monday to Maxine Dupree. Was it a stupid way to end it with a count out? Sure, we can say that. Maybe they tell a story. Maybe Maxine then goes in and wins the title off of Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch puts over Maxine Dupree. And that's the end result of Becky Lynch coming back. I would love that. As much as I wish I could watch Monday Night Raw is pretty boring, but from the recaps that I have, it'd be great. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, who cares about the indies? Who cares how the indies are thriving right now? When WWE ID was released and announced as an idea, I saw a ton of indie wrestlers saying this should make you hungrier, and it's the fans who are complaining about it. The wrestlers themselves, they love the idea because it creates a pathway to the WWE that has never existed before. But all they see is territory building, and this comes to my final point that I'm going to make. The fans of AEW, if you go and take a look at the people who are AEW fans, sickos, they are the same fans who cheered for WCW to beat WWE in the Monday Night War. They were the same fans. They probably are the same fans who were upset that Vince McMahon broke up their beloved territories. Guys, the territory system was going to die. It was going to kill the business. It would not have grown, and if you don't grow, you die. That's business. So what does Vince McMahon do? He puts the industry on his back and says, you know what? I'm going on television, and I'm going to mortgage my house, my life savings. I'm going to bet this on the first ever WrestleMania, and I'm going to put it on the back of Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania in 1984, and what I think is the most influential and most important match in the history of the business is Madison Square Garden, January 1984. I think it was January 29th, 1984. Hulkamania beats Iron Sheik for the title, for his first WWF title. Hulkamania is born, and that moment right there is what makes WWF boom in the mid 90s or mid 80s, early 90s, right? And Hulk Hogan saves wrestling. Vince McMahon saves the business. And then they do it again when wrestling gets a little bit boring and it needs a jump. Hogan jumps. Vince follows suit in 97, 98 and creates the Attitude Era, which saves the business, saves the industry. But if it wasn't for Vince McMahon in 1984 saying the business is going to die if we don't find a way to grow the audience, and he goes national TV and expands the market of pro wrestling to the nation. Without that risk that Vince McMahon takes, the current product you're watching right now does not exist. The business would have died. But they don't care about that. They see it as he killed the territories. No, the territories were already dying. That's the truth. That's the truth. Vince McMahon saved wrestling in 1984. The problem is that the fans who tend to lean towards AEW tend to be already in their mind anti-WWE. They don't like their business practices. They don't like the politics of the people who work there, which is kind of weird. That you make your entertainment decisions on the politics of the person who runs the company, forgetting that the owner of Endeavor, who actually owns TKO, who is the parent company of WWE, so by effect, the owner of WWE right now, Ari Emanuel, his brother is a hardcore liberal who used to be mayor of Chicago. So, right, the people who are anti or pro AEW do so because they have a hatred for WWE that's deep within them, and that blurs their vision of what WWE is and what they're doing. Do I like the product as it's airing on television right now for WWE? No. It's absolutely awful. Do I like the business practices that Endeavor and TKO are doing moving to ESPN and all of this. No, I think it's absolutely stupid. I think this is the result of corporatism. Is ultimately what you get when corporations own everything. But that's a whole different subject. That doesn't mean that WWE is some big evil bully trying to kill the rest of the business. And the people who say this and the people who complain the most about it do so because they hate WWE. They're just not willing to admit it. They spend a lot of time discussing WWE. This conversation's useless. It's stupid. I'm done having it. WWE's just doing business. It's so stupid, bruh. It's so stupid. It's so stupid, man. It's so stupid. Can we just, I don't know, I just want to have a place where I could chill with some friends who watch wrestling, and we don't have to sit here and argue over business practices. I don't care about y'all remember when you were kids and you watched wrestling and you didn't care about what happened behind the curtain? That's how I want to watch wrestling. That's how I'm actively choosing to watch wrestling. The only thing that matters is what happens on the screen in the 2 hours of that show. I don't care about the business practices. I don't care about who's dating who or any of the drama behind the scenes. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is how Vince McMahon is what Vince McMahon cared about. Right? Vince McMahon did not care about anything unless it happened on his television screen. Meaning, titles could, you could have a title match, and if it didn't happen on TV, a title change didn't get acknowledged. And they would do that sometimes at house shows, where they would have a title match for a U.S. title, and they wanted to test the crowd reaction, so they would have the challenger win to test the crowd reaction to him winning, so that when they actually put the strap on him on television, they could gauge what that reaction would look like. That's all I care about is what happens while the camera's rolling. I don't care about anything else. That's how I choose to actively care about the business right now. And I'm at the point of the only thing I want to watch is NXT. And that's the only thing I'm going to think about in wrestling. Right? It's the only thing. And so here's the final thing. Join the Discord, have those conversations. But from here on out, this is We Too Deep server. If you get to the point, like I said, I have a long fuse. So if you get me to the point to where I'm annoyed, I don't mind using the timeout button. I'll never boot you. I'll never kick you out of the server. I'll ask you to leave if I think you're being disruptive, but I'll never force you out unless you're doing something. I'll be honest with you. I'm just going to be straight up honest. Y'all may see this as favoritism. If someone joins the Discord and starts harassing members, especially like the OGs like Kara, y'all start harassing them. Now Kara could take care of herself. She's probably more ruthless than I am, and that's awesome. She can take care of herself. But if it gets to the point to where you're disrespecting members, especially my OG audience, I'm not going to hesitate to boot you. I'll never ban you from joining unless you did something, that crossed a specific line. But if I have to start putting people in timeout, I'll start putting people in timeout. So the point where I'm at with this. Fuck the indies. Fuck AEW. Fuck all of this shit. I'm tired of the arguing every day and seeing every day online about how bad and how much of a big bad bully WWE is, and then the response is, well, you're just playing the victim if the shoe fits. No, the shoe only fits in your dented reality. The only people who think WWE is being a bully are you guys. WWE is just running business the way business is run. But you got to get over this stuff, man. Get over your hatred for a company that you constantly think about and always post about. This is just how it is, man. Before we get out of here, though, I thought about this. Crown Jewel is tomorrow. It is 8 a.m. Eastern Time. That means for those who live on the West Coast, like the favorite listener of the podcast, Kara. No, I'm kidding. That's a little favoritism. Maybe I'm kidding. I don't know. If you live out on the West Coast, it's a 5 a.m. start time for you on ESPN. Crown Jewel. I don't even know the card. We're going blind because I haven't watched the main roster in months. But we are going to predict this. We're going to predict this card. This is going to be my live reaction to the card because I honestly don't know what's on it outside of, I know it's what Cody and Seth and Tiffany and Vaquer because they're the champions. But outside of that, I don't know the card. Cena and AJ as well. I know that. But we're going to react to this card live. So, yeah, we got Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins for that massive Crown Jewel championship that Cody Rhodes won last year. Is Cody going to retain it? I don't think so. I think Seth Rollins, I think something stupid's going to happen here. So, yeah. I think something stupid's going to happen here. Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton. So I got Rollins in the first one. I think Stephanie's going to win this one. There's a big push there. I think Stephanie Vaquer will win. The women's one, Cena versus AJ Styles. I don't know, nor do I care. This John Cena retirement tour is stupid. I'm gonna say AJ. I'll say AJ wins. AJ Styles will win this match. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Asuka and Kairi Sane in a tag team match for no freaking reason whatsoever other than to get Rhea Ripley on the card. Rhea and Io are going to win this. That one's easy. And then Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed in an Aussie street fight because we needed to see this match again in another match that required DQ for no reason because they're damn sure not going to be in the streets, are they? I hate street fights if you haven't figured it out yet. Roman Reigns is going to win. Maybe. I don't actually know. There's no DQ, so Braun Breaker's probably getting involved. I don't know nor care. This is going to set up War Games. So, I don't know, nor do I care enough to know about it. I'm going to pick Roman. So, we'll go Seth Rollins, Stephanie Vaquer, John Cena, Rhea and Io, and Roman Reigns. There's my predictions. I kind of finished keeping track of it because I just don't care enough about wrestling. I'm just be honest with you. So the predictions are done in the group. I just don't care about them anymore. But yeah, join the Discord. You'll get. I just want to have a place to chill, bro. That's all this is. Talk about life. Talk about wrestling as we watch it. Talk about sports. Have fun with some friends. Hang out. Have a chill place to hang out, bro. That's all. that's all that I wanted. And so if you start to mess up that vibe, I don't know, man. I'm not going to kick people out. I am going to tell them to shut the fuck up. So, that's where we're at. Thanks for listening to this impromptu, me just having to vent for a minute episode of the Slap at Me Community Show. My name's We Too Deep. And until Tuesday, I'll see y'all later.